right where I'm standing is where a future NASCAR Rookie of the Year took out his pistol and started shooting at a crowd of angry race fans. And it was in this creek where a NASCAR Hall of Famer once found himself upside down with water rushing in his race car. And it's on this property right here where a local sheriff realized he could make a buck or two off some good old boys raising some cane. This is the story of the Antioch Speedway. So if you've followed me for a little bit, you'll know that each racetrack I cover has some crazy stories. But there is no track that has earned quite the Wild West reputation as the one I'm standing at today. It's the Antioch Speedway here in Morganton, North Carolina. This place had an absolutely insane reputation for being just an absolute madhouse, both on the track and in the stands. So by the end of this video, you're gonna learn all about that history. You're gonna meet some of the drivers and crew members who raced here. And this track is not a lost track because it's got quite a slate of racing, which I'll tell you about later on in this video. So let's go and learn about the Antioch Speedway. So in the 1950s, drag racing was super popular in this area, in this region of Western North Carolina. And there was an airport that was located just beyond the track over there, about a mile or so. And they're trying to get it to where they could build a drag strip over there or use the runways as drag racing. And there's all sorts of problems with it. And then a local police chief realized, hey, if I build my own drag strip, I can make a buck or two off of these guys and keep these guys off the street. So that's what he did. And he built a drag strip kind of in the area where I'm walking right now, between the oversight stands and the actual track itself. And it's got quite some stories to tell.
I had turned 13 years old and my brother wanted a race car, so I destroyed a 40 model Ford for him to race. That's my first set of roll bars and stuff that I put in a race car, 13 years old.
It was a drag strip, but that was 55. And my dad had a 55 nice, and he's pulled up beside this old 50 Chevrolet and said, I'm going to outrun this 50 Chevrolet. And that 50 Chevrolet run off and left him. And he never said another word. He left the track. And he never come back.
I come up here every weekend. They run every weekend. It was dirt. They have a lot of people. Had quite a few in the stands, and they had a lot of competitors. There's a bunch of guys come out of Lenore. I was probably the only one out of Hickory that run up here every week. But I had a 57 Pontiac with a tri-power engine in it. The only guy that ever outrun me on the drag strip here was I believe his name was Clarence Porch, had a fuel-injected 57 Chevrolet.
Ultimately, drag racing didn't last super long, and they actually built this oval track. It began life as the Lenore-Burke Speedway, but quickly became the Antioch Speedway, and it's pretty much existed ever since. And man, when I tell you it's got some stories, it really has some stories.
I remember that James Spencer could knock the fence down about every week. James, he is notorious up here.
How'd you get involved in this racetrack?
They just pay more than Hickory. And I came up here, I drove for Roy Herman and Phil Herman. They're brothers. I came up here, I won championship up here, first year I run up here.
Me and Joey Barker got the bumping and banging on each other one night. That's how I got the nickname the Hitman. That was what they called me. Doc was the announcer then, and me and Joey Barker, we got to banging on each other one night in the street stock or super stock race. And the next week I come back, Doc started calling me the Hitman. So we put it on the late model, the Hitman.
There's many other racers who competed here. Lots of local legends. Bennett Klontz was one of the best drivers here. He was from this area, and I actually found one of his original crew members.
We had the track record at 24 seconds flat, and we thought that was really fast. And Curtis come over here one night in an old big old Ford and tied our track record and stayed for years.
One of the funniest things about this place is whenever I would ask these guys about this racetrack, fights would always come up. Like, I mean, it was like every week, these guys were absolutely losing their minds.
Well, I used to make the comment that you could come over here to a fight and a race would break out, because they fought every weekend. And I think that's the reason the stands were full of people. They come over here to see the fight just as much as they did the race, and I've seen some awesome fights. I mean, awesome. I saw Carl Smart knock a fella out of his shoes. His shoes were still on the ground. And not that I'm a Carl Smart fan, but he's pretty tough, I can tell you that, or was. I think he's deceased now.
I remember when Damian Patton and his dad got into it with Bill Mintz. Well, they were standing there on the inside of the guardrails watching their kids race, you know. And then I think Bill Mintz's boy wrecked Damian or something. So I saw him hit him in the head with a coffee cup. Because he wrecked his boy.
We used to come in over the fourth turn up here, and we was going out behind the car, and I seen a man lean over the car, and I thought he was talking to somebody in the back seat, and I thought the car backfired, and he fell back, and he'd been shot right between the eyes, but it didn't hurt him. It glanced up, and he still lived. But Carl Smart and one of the Powell boys took him to the hospital.
When I tell you there was guns everywhere, there was guns literally everywhere.
He'd won the race and spun somebody out. He come into the pits about 3 times to try to get out, and the crowd come around the cars was hitting him with clods and wrenches and everything, and he'd go back out and go around the track again. And he went around the track and he stopped up in 3 and 4. I seen him stop, and somebody handed him something, and he come in the pits, and here come the crowd again, and I heard a gunshot go off, and it was Larry. He had a big pistol, and he had said, if you people don't care, I'm gonna get out this time.
And we're talking about the 1972 NASCAR Rookie of the Year, Larry Smith. Larry Smith was a local driver who was from this area, and he was quite the character, always getting in trouble, always stirring a pot.
Larry was playing poker and lost his, didn't have no money, so he put his dad's race car into the game. So he lost the car, the card game, and he came back the next Friday night. He was driving the car for the wife. So Larry didn't lose nothing, but his dad lost the race car. But and then the night that Larry shot the lights out of the track, and they refused to let Larry race for whatever reason. So Larry said he got in somebody's trunk with a shotgun. And when he drove around the track, and they popped out of the track and just started to shoot the lights, so they couldn't race. That's the night that my mom and dad had me. My mama had me in the backseat of the car, covered up. Larry shooting the gun.
He cut his teeth here before he went to NASCAR, and tragically he was killed in his sophomore season at Talladega. But man, he was quite the racer. But it wasn't just Larry Smith who stirred the pot. Ralph Earnhardt did too, including this legendary protest story.
We was at Concord and run second to him the day before. We'd led the whole race, but he got by us about 5-10 laps to go. And we put a big motor in, come over the next day, and we nearly lapped him. And he come after the race and said, Bud, said, we got to trade money. And Bennett said, we ain't trading money. And needless to say, Ralph got our protest money. He protested us and got I believe it's about $1,200.
So I found my way into the flag stand here, and I could not imagine being the flagger here, witnessing the absolute chaos on the racetrack. while having screaming rowdy fans right behind you. But I was lucky enough to find someone who actually was here and worked it. And man, his stories about this place absolutely do not disappoint.
Pete and Frank Wilson decided they were going to run the track. So they come to me and wanted me to be the flagman. And the flagman over here had the reputation of being drug out of that stand and beat half to death. So I wasn't real enthused about going to the flagman stand, but they offered me at that time $50 if I'd flag, and $50 back in the 60s was pretty good money. So we made a deal, and I ended up being the flagman over here. The deal we made was I called the shots. The day that they changed one of my decisions, I was going to hand them the flags and they could do their own flagging. And they assured me they wouldn't change my decisions. So the first night, first race, I was on the flagman stand and something didn't go to suit one of the fans. So they came to there was a fence between the flagman stand and the grandstand. A guy come to the fence down there and went to cussing me. So I just red flagged the race. I got down out of the flagman stand and I walked back and I said, at that time it was $6 to get in. I said, come on across that fence and let's give them their $6 worth tonight. And that man said, do what? I said, come on across that fence or get up there in them stands and shut up. He come up and got back in his seat, sat down. I never had another minute's problem the whole 2 years I flagged. It worked out real well. But that was the only other thing that I made a deal with them. I had to have a man behind me on the flagman stand so that somebody wouldn't come up and drag me off backwards. They put me a boy up there to punch me if somebody come to get me out of the flagman stand because they had a reputation over here of beating the flagman half to death.
So I've ventured outside of the racetrack just beyond turn 3 to where one of the more infamous stories happened here. Harry Gant was racing Bennett Klotz for the lead, and before he knew it, he somehow flew out of a track and ended up in this creek behind turn 3, upside down with water coming in his car. It just so happened that Harry was actually wearing a brand new safety harness, a pretty revolutionary safety harness that really kept him lodged in the seat, but apparently water was going all the way up to his helmet. And somehow he was able to free himself from that car. But it's just so cool to think about that Harry Gant, 2026 NASCAR Hall of Famer, was once upside down in this little creek back here. You know, admittedly, I don't know much about dirt track racing. I'm more of an asphalt guy, but this track seems decently banked. It sounds like this place was really multi-grooves, which created a lot of action, and it was big enough to where you could see a lot of things. It wasn't a tight bull ring. I mean, you could go a lot of different places, but man, this is super cool to look at.
It's a good track, and it's the only track that's this big, and you can really dodge a race here, dodge a wreck, or if you're just little tracks, you can't see good, but this track you can see good, and it's a good track.
I love racing there because it was a tricky track to get around, and you could actually, in my opinion, you could outdrive someone here. You didn't have to have the fastest cars and get a good result.
So I'm walking around this track, man, and it just feels like I'm on hallowed ground. I mean, it's just so cool to think about how many crazy things happened right here. You know, so many drivers, so many teams would come here and spend their weekends, and man, it was a Wild West. This was really, truly an outlaw track. In fact, they tried for years and years to get a NASCAR sanction and to no avail. And ultimately, many drivers actually get fined here if they were running NASCAR and would show up here because it was a non-sanctioned track. And so they would actually fine them. And you can see right here, these are some of the original fine statements that drivers would get. But even people like Curtis Turner, who was an absolutely legendary driver in NASCAR, when he got a lifetime ban from NASCAR, even he would come and show up at this place because this truly was a crazy wild track out here in North Carolina. But ultimately, they raced here well on into the 2000s, and then it kind of encountered a period of some dormancy. They'd hold a race here or there, but never really held a full season for a while. Then in 2015, they started holding a full season again, and that ran through 2018. But then since then, it's really just kind of returned back to relative dormancy with a race here or there. But I've got a big surprise for you later on in this video, so you're gonna want to stick around for that. But yeah, it's just so cool to think about how many stories and amazing things came out of this place.
James was in the car. He was in our 57 Chevrolet, and we was running second. Larry's left wheel, the whole hub assembly come off, and he run the last 5 laps and outrun us on 3 wheels. And I said, James, why didn't you kill him? He said, I couldn't get to him. Every time I got close, it got to throwing clods up in my face, and I couldn't see.
There was sadly one fatality that did occur here. It was over in turns 1 and 2. A local racer ended up crashing in a single car accident and ultimately lost his life, dying on the way to the hospital. But surprisingly, that really was the only death that happened here. You know, it's just incredible to sit here in these same seats which so many people have sat in. You have the opportunity to sit in these seats again. I'll tell you about that more in a little bit, but just think about how many rowdy fans would come here every week, week after week. Apparently this place was always packed, and I think a lot of the reason why is because they would see a show both on and off the racetrack. And a cool thing about these seats is, if they look familiar, that's because they are. They actually came out of the old Charlotte Coliseum, and then they're now here at this racetrack. So that's a pretty cool bit of North Carolina history for you. Man, look at how much his guardrail is taking a beating. I have no idea if this is the original one, but man, you can see it's been chewed up quite a bit. So this track has been relatively dormant for the last 8 or so years, but the property hasn't. It's actually called the Horsepower Park now, and there's a lot of cool things to do around here for anybody who's interested in really anything to do with racing. There's a go-kart track here. There's miles and miles of off-road trails. There's camping here. The current owners, they're really enthusiastic about this place, but there's something that's brand new that's coming for 2026. The owners of Horsepower Park have announced that they're gonna run a full season of racing here at this track that has so much legendary history.
So this season, we have a full schedule on North Carolina's fastest dirt track. We're starting out March 7th. We have sprint cars throughout this season. We have some super late models. Our weekly or bi-weekly has Thunder Bombers, Pro 4s, front wheel drives, the Renegades, and Crown Vics this season. So we have a really exciting racing program going on, and we're just to have this track back open and, you know, using North Carolina's half-mile dirt track is really exciting to us.
And you know, I preach it all the time. The best way to prevent more and more tracks from being abandoned or sold or turned into other things is to fill stands like that right there. So this track, like I said, is coming back, but the only way it's gonna be successful is if you support these awesome people who run this place. But even if circle track racing is not your thing, which I don't know why it wouldn't be, there's still plenty of other things going on. These people love racing, anything to do with engines and horsepower. Again, this place is called Horsepower Park. So support them, they've got plenty of other opportunities.
Well, Horsepower Park is a horsepower fueled family fun. We have dirt track racing, we have go-kart racing, we have off-road riding, we have camping, we have a tree fort cozy cabin, and then this season we're also adding the monster truck driving school, where we'll be teaching people to drive monster trucks. So we have a lot of exciting stuff going on here.
So friends, because this is such an amazing track, I really can't fit all the history in it, but I'm actually here with Jason Freeman, Jason's written a book on this place that's available for purchase. But Jason, you want to talk a little bit about what this book is all about?
Oh, when I was a little kid, I was raised by my grandmother, and we lived pretty much across the creek there, so you could hear this place at night. And she brought me here in '88 when it first opened, and all through the '80s and '90s. So we were here most Friday nights or Saturday nights to watch the racing. It was always a good time. So I went back all the way to the drag strip in the '50s, and we covered through the '60s and '70s, and the closing and reopened in the '80s and '90s through the 2018 when it was the last full season, and hopefully we're gonna have another one this year.
That is awesome. So you're definitely want to go check that out. I also want to give Jason a huge thank you. He's been so instrumental in putting this video together and getting all these guys that you've seen. So you definitely want to go check out this book. I'm going to link some information about it in the comments below. So please go buy it. It's a great book. Support your local racers, support your local racetracks, support the people who write about racetracks. You know, I say this a lot, that we really need to support the tracks we have left. And this is one of the best opportunities here if you're in this area. They're gonna try to run a full season, but again, it's only gonna be successful if we fill those stands and support our racers. So yes, please, please, please support this track. But as I finish my tour here, and I finish my whole project really, I can't help but think about all the drivers and people I've met along this journey discovering this track. I mean, this place was truly home despite the chaos here for so many people. And we really, 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 really have to try hard to not to lose that, because so many people have lost that. So many people across the country have lost their tracks, their ability to race. And on these ones that are still here, we just really, really, really need to respect them and support them. But it's been a pleasure to learn about this story, and it's been awesome to meet all of these amazing folks. So please go and support those tracks and make sure that racing lives on forever.